Hello everyone, welcome back to today's video. Sorry for uploading a little late. Today was Black Friday, so I had to go out and get things, Christmas presents and everything. But today we're going to be doing Paul Ryan with Ben Sasse as his running mate versus Kamala Harris and Julian Castro as her running mate. So right now it's just going to be these two in a 2024 general election. This is not 2020. This would be if Trump served 2 terms, was reelected in 2020, and Paul Ryan became the Republican nominee. So we'll have party fatigue on the Democratic favor in this election. So yeah, just because of that. And I mean, if we take away the Trump effect as well, I think the result would probably be the same. This map definitely favors the Democrats a lot more. Minority turnout in other states like Georgia, Texas, Arizona would drastically increase from where they did in 2016. If these states became close for Republicans in 2016, 2024 definitely could be a flipping here. Many political pundits believe that Texas will flip by 2022, and at most 2024. And 2024 would probably be the first year it would become very competitive. As it continues on, the Latino population would definitely help the state of Texas for the Democratic Party. But in the Rust Belt, minorities are moving away from the Rust Belt, and that could help the Republican Party. So we're going to see how this fills out. So Kamala Harris, being a senator from California, of course she would win the West Coast and her state. With included minority turnout in a lot of these states, they would be considered toss-ups. So it's weird having to click twice for the Republican Party in this one. But Nebraska, I can't split the electoral vote, so I'm just going to leave that with Paul Ryan. And I don't think it would change anyway, but... Missouri, that one would go for Paul Ryan. Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana. Actually, Indiana, Missouri, since there is party fatigue on the on the Democratic side favoring them, Montana would probably be a toss-up because of the Native American population, but you know they're probably not going to turn out for Kamala Harris and Julian Castro. But yeah, so in the Rust Belt, we're gonna leave that as a toss-up. West Virginia would be Republican. South Carolina, South Carolina is a year for flipping, would probably be around 2028, so I'm going to leave that one red, but I think it would become very narrow with the high African American turnout, with that all included, and the party fatigue factor. Then we go up into the Northeast. I only have to click once, so New Hampshire would be pretty much safe blue, but I'm going to leave it as a toss-up. I accidentally clicked on it, and we'll talk about that in just a second. All of Maine, I'll leave in Kamala Harris's column. So these are pretty much the states that we're going to talk about. So we're going into the Rust Belt. We have Paul Ryan and Ben Sasse. Ben Sasse coming from the state of Nebraska, Wisconsin being Paul Ryan's home state. But even in the state of Wisconsin, Paul Ryan's approval rating is in the low 40s. It's higher than Trump's is right now. But if we have party fatigue, but the Democratic side favoring them, and Kamala Harris and Julian Castro can turn out both Latino and African American voters, even though Paul Ryan is from the state of Wisconsin, the home state factor doesn't stretch over minority voters. Minority voters are not going to say, oh, hey, Paul Ryan's from our state, let's vote for him. The white working class may do that, but if minorities actually turn out the same way they did for Obama, the Rust Belt should reliably go for the Democratic Party. Same thing in the state of Virginia. If Northern Virginia turns out the same way that they did for Obama and Hillary Clinton, it'll likely go for Kamala Harris and Julian Castro. And so this would be, right now we have 249 electoral votes for Kamala Harris and 100 for Paul Ryan. So Paul Ryan and Ben Sasse really turn off immigrants and minorities. They both, I think together as a tag team, would definitely inspire the white in college vote, the non-educated and educated white vote. I think it would definitely help them there. But if we're looking at the way that minorities perceive them, Hispanic minorities may perceive Paul Ryan as someone who wants to deport them, even if they are legal. It's just the way that the media makes some Republicans seem. And along with that, Ben Sasse, although he did stand up to Donald Trump, if Donald Trump was elected, that would also turn off a lot of Republican voters that voted for Trump. And this is contingent on that he does win re-election, and then we go into 2024. But all that together, I'm going to call it now, actually. Texas would flip to the Democratic side. We've seen a mass immigration between Latino immigrants coming from across the border or coming from other countries and moving into Texas. It is a Latino epicenter, and even people like Alex Jones understand this. They understand that Texas is likely going to be a flippable state, and that because of changing demographics, it'll be a lot harder for a Republican to be elected president. Alex Jones said that in one of his broadcasts about how we'll never have a Republican president again, and that's probably likely. Not a current Republican president, at least. We'll probably have someone who's still conservative, who still runs under the Republican Party, but the future of America is turning more Democratic. That's just because minorities are not likely to change their views based off where the Republican Party stands now. The Republican Party is starting to alienate themselves. For the first time since the United States was around a couple years ago, we have more minorities in this country than we do white people that actually necessarily came out, that are active in politics. And I mean, a lot of people don't vote in the general elections, and a lot of those are minorities. But if trends continue the same way they're going, it's going to definitely favor the Democratic Party. We go into a state like Florida, if they have a huge Latino population and they vote Democratic 70-30, even disregarding things about them outweighing white voters, a lot of white voters also vote Democratic. If the Democratic Party can win over at least 40% of the white vote, and getting almost all of the immigrant vote, the African American vote, minority vote I meant to say, but that would definitely help them in states like Florida, Texas, and Arizona. So Florida, I'm also going to fill in for Kamala Harris. I'm not going to make this video too lengthy. States that went for Hillary Clinton are likely to go back to the Democratic Party, even if they did flip in 2020. I haven't singled out a 2020 scenario for something to lead up to this. But a state like Montana, even with the minority turnout, it's probably going to stay Republican, just based off what history has told us. But we go over to a state like North Carolina. Kamala Harris would definitely win North Carolina. The growth in African American turnout and the fact that there would be an anti-Trump rhetoric here if he was reelected, that would definitely help the Democratic Party. Same thing in the state of Georgia. It may seem implausible now. It may seem like it's impossible for a Democrat to win in a state like Georgia now. But then we look at where all the people moving to the urban areas, with a power ticket like Kamala Harris and Julian Castro, they may seem like corporate Democrats, but they're minorities. And Barack Obama did exceptionally well when minority turnout came out, and in the Democratic primary, that would likely lead Kamala Harris to the nomination, and in the general election, as it did for Obama going against someone like Hillary Clinton in 2008. Bernie Sanders needed the African American vote in order to win in the Deep South, and he didn't get it, and he lost the nomination. Proves to show how much of the minority vote makes an effect on the Democratic Party. New Hampshire would likely stay blue. Ohio, same thing here. Ohio would definitely turn back because Kamala Harris is a minority. She would turn out a lot of the African American vote. The white working class may or may not feel betrayed. We haven't really figured out a scenario here. We're only about a year into the presidency, or actually a year since he got elected. But it would still flip back to the Democratic Party because Kamala Harris has this turnout on her side. Same thing in the state of Iowa. That would likely to go to Kamala Harris. And then we go over to Arizona. Julian Castro would definitely help to bring Latino turnout in a state like Arizona. Paul Ryan, he is a sane Republican. I personally like Paul Ryan a lot, and Ben Sass. But in 2024, odds are definitely going to be against the Republican Party, regardless of who wins in 2020. And that's going to be a really hard realization for the Republican Party to realize that they need to change a lot of their policies. They can no longer just appeal to the educated white working class and the educated white voter. They need to actually appeal to minorities the same way that the Democratic Party does. The Democratic Party was able to get more than 87% of the vote in 2016 for the African American vote, and Hillary Clinton got that vote. And she still lost, but it still shows how much of there is a divide between minority vote, between the Democratic and Republican Party, and the white vote. So we're not going to talk about that just a lot, but we're going to go into states like Indiana and Missouri. Those are likely to stay Republican just because of the fact that there aren't that many minorities moving into states like Indiana and Missouri. Indiana could necessarily see a growth, but it won't be that drastic. But overall, this would probably be the final electoral map. If you listen to this whole video, then congrats. But yeah, so we have 414 electoral votes. Kamala Harris wins the election to 124 for Paul Ryan and Ben Sass. This may seem like a very impossible map for the Democrats to do now, but in a year like 2024, it's definitely possible. So thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you all tomorrow.